Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh of the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool.
Fresh is the word.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I am your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is Grammy Award-winning Brooklyn-based multi-instrumentalist, composer, arranger, and producer Sly5thAve, who just released his new album, What It Is, via Tru Thoughts Records. On this episode, we do a track-by-track breakdown of the new album and how his musical upbringing influences his work. We also talk about his move to New York over a decade ago, where he found a home at the Clubhouse, which is a home to a host of various New York talent, many who are on this new album, along with the making of his critically acclaimed project, The Invisible Man, an orchestral tribute to Dr. Dre. Before we get into this interview with Sly5thAve, just want to remind you about my other podcast, Renaissance Soul. It's my Detroit music history podcast. You can, check it out pretty much anywhere that podcasts are streaming. Both the podcasts, Renaissance Soul and Fresh is the Word, are streaming via Amazon Music now. So you can just type in those words and it should pop up for you if you use Amazon. Besides that, we're just living in this crazy world, man. Like the outcome of the Breonna Taylor case, not actually charging for her death. That's, man, like they just finding new ways to cover up Black death in America. And then Trump is just like, he gets asked if he's gonna, transition peacefully if he loses the election, and he said, we'll see about it. So, it's going to be a crazy, like, next couple months. I posted something like this on my Facebook, and, like, recently I was just having some trouble, like, feeling weird about, like, a lot of times I hit people up to see how they're doing, but I don't really hear from a lot of people. I understand that, like, we're all going through stuff, but, it's, there has to be a little bit more, two-way, it has to be a little bit more two-way communication with people. So just remember, man, just like, hit up some of your homies, from time to time. Even it's like, you good? What up? You good? Like, just a little bit, just something little, man. Just like, I hope you're doing well. Something. It doesn't need to be a, long thing. It doesn't need to be a hangout. It doesn't need to be a 3-hour phone call. If you want to plan something like that with your homies, cool. But, when it comes down to it, just to, stay in touch with people, because just every little bit helps, and I feel a little bit better today getting that off my chest, and a lot of people, responded. So, it's cool that people are, that I'm in people's thoughts, and, I definitely want to, stay in touch with more people. So, just your strong friend's gonna need somebody to talk to sometimes. Just stay in touch with people, man. An email, an IM, a text message, a phone call, all that, really helps. You mean be like, yo, what up, though? Something like that, So, Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy next couple of months. Next month, actually no, November, and November is gonna be the the fifth anniversary of Fresh is the Word, and I'm trying to figure out something to do for that. I got a few ideas of people I'm gonna try to hit up. Be on the lookout for that. But I want it to be somebody that's like really special to me. So we'll see what goes on with that. Definitely I'm gonna be plastering the my social medias about that, and I actually just realized how much like Facebook suppresses my podcast posts. Like they literally want me to pay. They would really want you to pay if you want to promote anything. Because there's people who literally like engage in all my regular posts on there. They have no idea that I do podcasts. I'm always posting about my podcast, and they're like, "Oh, what you been up to these days?" I'm like, "For real? For really?" So I made a post today. I'm like, "Does anybody ever hear about the thing that I do twice a week?" And a lot of people are like, "Nah, I don't see any of those." So yeah, like I'm trying to find new. I might have to put a little bit of money maybe into some of these episodes of promoting them. Uh, but if you're listening to this, please, share it with share it with the homies. Send it through instant messengers or text message or DMs or whatever. Post it on your, pages, whatever. Spread the word, man. And please, like, for Renaissance Soul and Fresh is the Word, please rate and review it on, Apple Music, or not, Apple Podcasts. Not sure. I think Stitcher you can, rate and review things. If you see a place where you can rate and review it, then do that. All right. Without further ado, after a quick note from our sponsor, we'll get into this interview with Sly5thAve. All right, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast, and like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And the guest for this episode is a Brooklyn-based multi-instrumentalist, composer, arranger, and producer, Sly5thAve. He has a new album, What It Is, coming out on Tru Thoughts. Thank you for joining us, Sly.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah,
You
man, the new album, uh, really dope. What it is. Kind of talk about what was going through your mind when you were first sort of thinking about what you wanted to do with this album.
um, shoot. Yeah, I guess journey of this album starts maybe like a little while back. Uh, I was doing like a bunch of like covers, the orchestra covers with like a bunch of horns, and then we added strings and some other stuff. But uh, through that process of arranging, I kind of really was able to hone in my production because I kind of realized how the two are related. And I had started writing a bunch of songs with my friend Denisha. And we would just meet up at my house every day, just work on music. Code name Strawberry Jam. But yeah, over like the last 5 years, or what year is it? 2020? Shoot, I started learning to produce in like 2000. I started the covers in 2012. I started learning to produce in 2013. And it's basically just been my whole journey of just like everything that I've learned to this point. And like now I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to be like, all right, guys, I'm a producer. Like, I'm here. It's what I make. I mean, I guess that's what I've been doing all along, like with my jazz record or with the Dre record. Like, I've always kind of like tried to hold on to that role, but no, I guess this is the first time of like pretty like presenting myself this way with no saxophone, nothing. Like, cause like yeah, with saxophone or with orchestral compositions, like yeah, I got a degree in that shit. So I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm qualified, so I feel more confident just because like I've spent the majority of my life doing those things, like playing saxophone or playing in a big band or whatever. But yeah, this is the first time where I kind of put those things, to the not to the side. They're very much a part of it because it's part of me. But like, just to where it's like, all right, I got a drum machine and a DX100. Like, let's, like
Let's do some things, yeah.
it's not about virtuosity, I guess. Yeah. So like yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go back a little because you mentioned a lot of things there. What was sort of like your beginnings in music? When was sort of that first inkling that you wanted to do something in music?
Blues Brothers. I saw the movie. Saw Blues. And Lisa Simpson. I saw the people. Uh, no, I just always liked music. I was always drawn to music, and I was actually telling a story the other day, but like I almost shot myself in the foot when it was time to join band. I didn't want to be. I was like 11, and I didn't want to be. I guess I gave in to peer pressure, and I was like, I don't want to be a band nerd, so I'm not going to join band, which would have been the greatest disservice to myself because
Right.
there's literally nothing else that I'm meant to do on this earth.
Yeah, screw
But
peer pressure. Kids, if you're listening right now,
yeah,
peer pressure. No.
say no to peer pressure. Just do what makes you happy. Like, but yeah, and I started playing. I was already in church choir before then, sang in church choir at the minister of music in my church, uh, Deacon Warren Franklin. He passed away when I was 17, but we were real close, and he was a big part of teaching me how to play. So yeah, I think that's.
So when you started started getting this inkling that you wanted to do music, what were some of the things that you got involved in besides what you just explained, and where did sort of your education about you know playing music sort of come from?
Yeah, well, too. I was like 14. Up to that point, I told my parents like, "Yeah, I want to be a doctor, save the world." We can use some doctors right now.
Yeah.
This is the universe being like, see, no, but yeah. And then when I was 14, I joined a jazz band and I had a really like inspirational band director too, in fact, and that just really inspired me to want to do it for a career. Um, and yeah, I guess I was in band until my senior year in high school, and then I quit. But um, for other reasons unrelated to music, because my band director was just wasn't a good person.
Oh.
To this day, I stand by that opinion, and he ruined a lot of kids' education. But so I joined choir in protest, and that was nice because I was still in the same. I went over there, and he was like, "You're never gonna be this, that, whatever." And then I went to school, whatever. But yeah, I went to North Texas, uh, University of North Texas school. It was like a big jazz school in Texas, Virginia State, and just had like a classical education. Like I played classical saxophone and jazz, um, and that was I guess that was the foundation. And then by the time I came to New York in 2010, and fresh out of school, and it was interesting because school, as many things as it taught me, um, I was definitely unprepared for the real world. And when I got to New York, I was like, all right, guys, I got my jazz degree, like. I'm ready for a big band gig, and everybody was just like, "Yo, dude, shut up!" Like, nobody wanted to hear that shit. Like everybody, nobody had like to this day, nobody has asked me like if I have a degree. Like, yeah, the first year I was in New York, I would tell everybody everything about me, and I was like, you know what, man, I should just shut up and play, you know. And that was a good lesson.
What did you do at that point? Now that you're in New York kind of smacked you in your face. Like how did you?
Hey, to put it lightly,
Yeah, to put it lightly, kind of smacked you in your face. How did you sort of transition?
shoot, that was the first time in my life like I had to get like I mean like I had jobs before, um, and I to this point I hadn't ever really supported myself playing music. But so like I knew when I got to New York, so I had talked to a bunch of people. I was like, shit, I gotta get a job, like. And so I wasn't looking forward to that, but then I got like a really interesting job. I was like a rug salesman 40 hours a week at Macy's, of all places. So like my first New York experience, I was like in the heart and center of it. Like that was exciting for about a month. The job lasted 7 months. And no, but yeah, I just worked a bunch of jobs, struggled. And then I met these people, and I got lucky. I knew a bunch of people from Texas, and I met these guys at the Clubhouse. Denisha, Scene. Well, Denisha wasn't there; she came later. But Scene, uh, Andrew Thomas, Pace Rivers, Coop, Jay Jennings, like all these amazing musicians, and um, it was the first time like I met them, and I went over there, and they were like, yeah, we're like, we wake up every day and we start doing music at like 8, and we try to be done by like 5. Because I remember I went over there and it was like 10 o'clock. And I was like, yo, let's make some beats. They're like, yeah, no, it's like dinner time. We're like, it's whatever. I was like, what? This is weird. Y'all my age. Um, but yeah, so I just started going over there every day, and they would, because they had a computer, they had Pro Tools, and I didn't know anything about this stuff. And they were just like, yeah, we're making music. Come over and record horns. And I would be the horn guy. Me and Jay, we had to go over there, for a bunch of horns, and I just kind of absorbed everything that was going on. We made like hip hop. And that was kind of like my school, my introduction into this whole thing. And then one day I was just like, yo, I'm just going to take a bunch of horns and do this. Because they would always be like, yo, we only need one saxophone. And I'd be like, but I have 8 ideas that I want to put on this track. They're like, nah, we only need one. And we only need like the first note of the first idea that you came up with. I'd be like, man, forget y'all. I'm going to do my own tracks. And then I did. I mean, amicably though. It wasn't nothing weird.
Right. I'm gonna go do my own thing too. You know,
Yeah.
I got all these things. So was that like the seeds of like this album that you started working on with
I
those?
think so. That's probably where it like really started. That was the first time. Yeah, because I mean, we would go over there, and I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but we would just my friend, my friend's wife now, but at the time his girlfriend. This is before she at a certain point they got pregnant. Before she got pregnant, she used to be our chief blunt roller. And so we would like it was like I'd be working 40 hours a week at Macy's, and like every day that I had off that I could go over there, I would wake up as early as I could. It'd be like I was so happy. Just to not be in Macy's, just to be making music and just like hanging with like what ended up becoming like some of my best friends. But yeah, like this is where it started. And like if I were to sum up this album, I would say it represents my first 10 years in New York, singing, Denisha, all the people that I collaborated with, those are people that I met at the Clubhouse, um, with the exception of Thelma. But like everybody else I met at the Clubhouse, we came up together at the Clubhouse. And yeah, and that's, sorry, the mattress lady's going by outside. Can you hear
Yeah, I'm like, is this going on here? I'm like, oh shoot. Oh no, I was there.
it? Yeah, they're like, yeah.
So you also did this project. It was a tribute to Dr. Dre, the Invisible Man. It was this orchestral project. I remember hearing about it. Um, this side of the nation, when
Yeah.
it happened, because Dre actually showed up at the performance. Sort of
Yeah.
talk about your idea about doing that project and sort of how it came out. And just like Dre co-signing it.
Man, I just wrote to somebody the other day. I was like, yeah, it's one of the single greatest nights of my life because it was, yeah, while I was at the Clubhouse, I saw a friend showed me a suite for my dudes, which was the Jay Dilla,
Yeah.
McDonald Ferguson tribute. And like, it was my life before that happened, and then there's my life ever since. Like, that was like definitely a moment where I was like, nothing is the same now. Everything is different. Like, the way I think about music and what it can do. Like, it's from that moment, I was like I saw it, and then was immediately like, I gotta go write an orchestra, hip hop something or whatever. I don't know.
Because it was like kind of like you're seeing like your education before being placed on things that maybe you didn't know that you could place it on.
Yeah, Exactly, because I'm like, man, I took a class in arranging. I mean, I almost failed it because like I was kind of a stoner in college and kind of lazy, and I just wanted to practice saxophone all the time. I didn't want to actually put in the work to study um, outside of that and outside of just playing. But uh, I was lucky that I had a teaching assistant who saw potential and didn't let me get away with that. So I like by this time this came around, I was like, okay, I definitely remember some of these things that we learned. So like, but yeah, I don't know. So I saw Sweet from My Dukes. I was like, this is awesome. Fast forward a couple years later, I've been doing like covers in my bathroom and my just recording at home, like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe and all that sort of stuff. Clubcasa Chamber Orchestra is what we called it after the Clubcasa, the house I was living in. But I got approached by Eric Coleman and Katia Frazier from Mochilla and Playing for Change. Mochilla was the same people that did the Jay Dilla, Sweet from My Dukes thing. And they were like, yo, we got this idea to do a tribute to Dr. Dre. And like, do you want to write the thing? I was like, yes, I've been waiting for this opportunity. Like, let's go, I'm ready. And we were like, I was just fortunate because actually the person that came up with the idea was a composer. His name was Tarek Kendall. He's from Egypt. He's Egyptian, but he was living in Lebanon. So for obvious reasons, in 2015, that was difficult for him to like be a part of the process in person. But we collaborated on one arrangement, not a major thing. I mean, it was limited what we could do, but we were in contact, and he was definitely like the thing that inspired these guys to have the idea for the concert. Um, and so they asked me to do it, and like basically for 3 to 4, I said it was July, the concert was in November, yeah. For like 4 months, I didn't do anything but write and compose for that. I was like going through a rough time patch at the time, and money wise, I almost got evicted out of my apartment, but I just kind of spent every day uh, composing. Because I just kind of wanted to prove that I could do it. I didn't really know in my mind that I could do it. And then we did it. And then sorry, the saxophone went by. Yeah. But yeah, we did the concert and there was like some kind of mishap. The recording didn't work out. The video didn't work out. 6 months later, I was like, man, we got to record these songs. Because it would be a shame to just like, but did all this work and to never hear it again. And there was a lot going on in the U.S. at the same time. I was like, man, I think this could manifest into like a powerful body of work. And so I approached the label and was like, hey, this is my idea. And they supported it. Tru Thoughts supported it. And yeah, then we had The Invisible Man, the tribute to Dr. Dre. So, but yeah, Dr. Dre comes to that concert was definitely, it was funny because the week leading up to that, everybody was like there were 10 people on our team. Everybody was trying to get at Dr. Dre through like, all right, I know his hairdresser. All right, I know his best friend. All right, I know his DJ. His DJ is DJing the event, so this should help get him. Because it was like with somewhere like that, you know, then it's you gotta go in at all angles. And then so right. Like we did the first half of the concert, and like I was fucking terrified. Like I'd never been in front of an orchestra live. Like everything I had did to that point was like in my bathroom. Like I overdub it, we recorded it. You know, like we had this little small closet. It was like me and one other person, and you know, like I could experiment. But I was like, in live, it's like, all right, now I got to remember the conducting class, which I failed because I was like, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, move the hands and shit. Like to this day, I'm still pissed off that I didn't take better advantage of that. But like now I actually have to do it. But so I get up there and like I'm shaking, and the very first song fucks up. Like the first note is fucked up. I'm like, oh my god, this whole thing is gonna be terrible. And then like, all right, kept it together, and then we made it through the first half. It was good. And then I walk off stage, fucking Dr. Dre is standing right there. I'm just like, yo, I'm so happy I didn't know you were there. There's no way this shit would have happened. Like, if he was, yeah. And so like I saw him halfway through, and then it was just kind of like, all right, I made it through. And Dr. Dre saw it. Second half is about to be on fire. Let's go. Like,
Yeah.
my mom has a video of him nodding his head. She sat behind him in the audience. And she kind of,
Were you able to talk to him at all?
yeah. I'm just really brief. Just really, really brief. I just told him, I was like, yo, man, I grew up listening to you. You're an inspiration. Thank you for everything you do. He's like, yeah, man. And he kept calling me the conductor, and I was like, motherfucker, I wrote this shit. Like, stop that. Not on some egotistical thing, but I was just like, I mean, he was like super big celebrity, so like he was there.
You're like, I wish he knew I wrote this too.
I'm like, dude, I wrote this, man. Call me for your next record. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's go. Like, I don't just wave my hands around. But no, it was cool, man. The fact that I got to shake his hand, and I got to look at one of my heroes in the eye, and he was. And then he stayed and watched the rest of the concert, it really meant a lot to be able to make that music to somebody that I respect that much musically, and to have them be able to see it, and to have my parents was like two row. It was like all these hard ass like Aftermath dudes, just like brolic, like and they were just like tapping their feet, and nodding their heads to like violins and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was cool, great experience.
So what was like sort of the results of all of that? How did you feel after that? What did it open any doors for you? What came of that performance?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it led me to like where I am now. Like it all, because I guess there was a point where I was kind of confused, like if I was gonna be like an arranger, like in turn, like just like I just do like orchestra stuff. Like I'm the orchestra guy or whatever. But I don't know. At some point, I think like when What It Is was coming together, I've kind of realized that like all of those things are one and the same. Like the orchestra stuff and everything. I just realized that they're all like kind of connected. I mean, it definitely opened some doors. Like for just people seeing it. And actually, it opened a really big door in Detroit. And this is what legitimized me somewhat as a conductor. But this guy saw the concert. His name's Jake Bass. I'm not sure if I pronounced the last name right, but his dad was, I can't remember his name, but Louis Resto, and I think it's Mike Bass. The guys that did the 8 Mile soundtrack.
Oh yeah, like the Bass Brothers. Yeah, they did a lot.
Bass Brothers.
Yeah, they did. They did a lot of production for with Eminem on the early albums and stuff.
Yeah, and it was funny because like immediately after that, my friend Omer, he's like, "Yo, I got this guy. He wants to talk to you about doing the orchestra thing in Detroit." And like I'm like, okay. And he hit me up. It was this guy Sean Forbes. He's a rapper who's deaf.
Yeah.
And he's dope. And I never thought he was even possible. But they had this concept of a show with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, featuring deaf artists for a mixed audience. And like with interact, it was like a 2-year back and forth talking process. But sure enough, like a year and a half ago, we actually did it because we would talk for a while, and then it was like, it's not going so well, and then they came together. But we did. I got to conduct the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, which is a completely different experience than conducting a bunch of jazzers, jazz musicians on stage, because they're looking at you like, look, man, don't mess this up.
Like they've worked with like some of like the best of the best, conductors and everything around the world, like our, the DSO conductor for a long time, Leonard Slacken. He's like
he's so bad. He's so awesome. Oh my God. Dude, I was watching videos of him before I went there. Oh my God. It was cool though, because the orchestra was super nice. Because they were like we went and I did it, and they could tell, like the guy walks up to me after the rehearsal. He's like, "Hey man, how many times you done this?" I was like, a couple times on my own, man. I was like kind of like trying to phone it in or trying to pretend like, I know what I'm doing. But he's like, "Hey man, you're doing a great job." It's like, It's like we could tell. You pulled up your hand and you were like shaking. Because at this point, like I had done it a few times, but I was like, oh my God, this is the Detroit Symphony. There's like 80 people looking at me right now.
Yeah, Detroit Symphony Orchestra has always had like especially over the past few years or so, had a lot of very interesting things that they've been a part of. And yeah, it's cool that you were able to have that experience.
Yeah, but hopefully this continues to bear fruit. That concert, I was just one of the lucky things that I was fortunate to be a part of. I think.
All right, getting back to the new album, what it is. If you don't mind, I would love to do just like kind of like a track by track breakdown and just kind of a few thoughts on each track.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the first song on the album is Boulevards.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like talk about anything that the meaning behind it or any sort of stories that come to mind.
That one, yeah, I feel like I made like a series of demos for Anderson .Paak. Well, they were made with him in mind. Did he actually ever hear them? Probably not. But somebody hit me up and was like, hey, you should make some demos for so-and-so. I never heard back. So I was like, hey, man, I really like this song. I'm going to use it. And I sent it to my friend Denisha. And she sent it back. And I was just like, what did you just write? Like, it was the most poetic lyrics. Like, another night falling, another day calling my name. I come running. I know my moment is today. Enemies always long at the hands of the. Yeah, I think I messed up on there. But anyways, I heard it and I was like, man, this is amazing. And yeah, we was like, let's make this our song. It's called Boulevards. Yeah, that's it.
The next song is Consequence.
That was the B side of Boulevards. It's basically just the later instrumental kind of jam. And yeah, it's called Consequence because it's like it's a consequence of what happened before. Everything that you do has a consequence. This was an instrumental. I was like, this is kind of like a reflective piece because it comes out of one and then goes into like this like jazzy kind of saxophone thing at the end. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
The next joint is called What It Is, the album track.
Yeah, that was cause I had this beat and again, yeah, man, failures are important because I made a beat for somebody else and they're like, I don't like it. I was like, well, I do. So we made it and I called it Science. The Science came over and yeah, me and Science met way back to Clubhouse. I played on a bunch of his records. Yeah, but always been one of my favorite MCs. And we were sitting there talking. I was just like, hey, man, like we should definitely write about something. Like it shouldn't just be like whatever. And I think I was feeling like kind of a way. Like I was like, man, I hate when people are trying to tell you how. We were having a conversation before we started. Like I hate when people are trying to tell you how to be or how you are. Like when people like you're trying to like someone asks you a question, they kind of like answer it for you, or like they like people kind of the same way that like people see you and then invest you with something. They invest you with whatever fears or with whatever hopes. Like you're supposed to be more or less than. And I was just kind of like, yo, it is what it is. Like I'm really tired of other people telling me like what I'm like and what my experience is, And it's like, yo, it's called What It Is. Because here, right here, this is it. Like, and yeah, and then that ended up being the theme of the whole album. I thought it was the best one. It's funny that we didn't make it a single, but I think it's cool. It's still the title track because it kind of sums up like the whole like nervousness and anticipation of like presenting something completely different. I mean, I don't think it's that different, but I guess like to most people, it's completely different than what they're used to hearing, or maybe what they came to know me by, like the Invisible Man or something.
Yeah, now, now that this album is done, that there is sort of that theme of what it is, sort of your kind of trying to show people, define in a certain way who you are. How do you feel about that in comparison to before?
I mean, yeah, I welcome it. I mean, it's I guess it's the I look at Prince for like an example, or like Miles Davis, um, and there's plenty others, but those are the two most obvious. Just because they are always surrounded by band members that were younger than them. They were always changing their sound, and like I remember it's taken me like over the last 20 years, or how I don't know, 30, the last like 15 years, like I've gone through different phases of both of those artists. I like their music from the earlier period to later, but it's just like I feel like they constantly. One thing you can say about them, if you look at what the music they made at the beginning of the career, the music they made when they left, like it was a constant evolution. They it's almost like they couldn't make two records that sounded the same. I mean, maybe a couple, but like they couldn't stay in the same place for more than a couple of years. And yeah, I think it's okay, man. If it makes people uncomfortable. First time I heard the Pimple Butterfly, I was like, I don't know if I like this. And now it's like one of my favorite records. But like I listened to it, I was like, yo, I respect this as a piece of art. But like it's kind of like it's a little different to take in to what I'm used to hearing. And I'm cool with that. I think yeah. I just want to keep growing. It's
What
fun.
what's sort of your mind state of your own like evolution as a music artist? You know, how important is it to be open minded and honest about what you like, what you don't like, where do you want to go, what you're not feeling anymore, what you're feeling now, sort of talk about your sort of mental state about this evolution as yourself.
hmm I think yeah, I felt like when I was in jazz school, like I got a very concentrated, highly specialized education. Like I'm a saxophone assassin. If you need me to play saxophone, I can do that shit. Better than most people in the world. Like not on some like egotistical shit, but just like I studied it, practiced 8 hours a day for
You're
like
confident
over a
about
decade.
the lengths that you learned it and are able to appropriate it in different ways.
Yeah, like I feel like I learned that. Like I studied. I mean, I've been playing it for over 20 something years. But like, I had a very narrow mindset. Like I feel like I had the blinders on.
Yeah.
Like when I was in school even. Like I mean, like of course I was into hip hop. I grew up with that. And like, but I'm like in college, like it was because that was like the USB hard drive sharing days. And like we would get terabytes or not, it was still gigabytes of music for people. Like, I get like D'Angelo, Slum Village. I remember that's when I got turned on to Slum Village for real, and like Talib and like all these other people.
Yeah.
So like I was still like kind of jazzy. Pretty much my mindset at the time was like jazz is the most highly evolved form of music, and like pop music is stupid.
Yeah.
Because I would see like simple types of music is like I just went into it. In that those 4 years, I was all about like jazz, and then like it'd be like hip hop, and I like the RH Factor, like Roy Hargrove. That was like
Yeah.
I was like, yo, that's tight. Like we can fuse it like that. We're gonna be cool. Like we're gonna make a cool band like that. And when I came to New York, I like all of a sudden had to make. I was making music for these people who had no music education, but I couldn't deny that like I loved the music that they made and that I liked what they did. Um, and so I just had to learn a different way. And then that's when I was just like, wait a minute, like I've been thinking about this completely wrong. Like these are just tools that I got. But like, yo, it's like you don't have to be a singer to sing. You don't have to be able to play a guitar. You know what I'm saying? Like you can still like you can be an artist. You can make to make art. I guess you can. You don't have to be the most highly evolved musician and have studied for 20 years. I mean, like, yes, you need to study your craft, but like,
Yeah, and the music doesn't have to be, crazy complex layered to
yeah,
be it can be simple but also just very poignant and amazing.
yeah. I think that's so far. That's it. I went from only looking at jazz, and then I met these wonderful people at the Clubhouse, and they opened my mind to other possibilities. And And now I just try and take in as much as possible and just try and keep, hopefully it keeps changing a little bit. And um, yeah, that's how I see it, I guess.
The next joint is Seaside.
Seaside, yeah, that was a Strawberry Jam uh, uh, jam. Actually, still got like 7 or 8 other songs on my computer with me and Denisha that I mean we'll get around to releasing sooner or later, but yeah, that one was like futuristic space jam. Kind of, what else can I say about it? The end. Yeah, I don't know how to describe that one. Just other than futuristic outer space jam.
You and Denisha seem to have a amazing chemistry on the songs that are on these records. Sort of talk about like working together, and where that sort of, I know just working at the Clubhouse and whatnot, kind of built that. But what's speak more about your work with her.
She was she we've been good friends. We met through Philip Lassiter, maybe my second year, 2011 in New York. But yeah, we've just been really, really, really good friends, and it's awesome because like it's like true friendship, like not I can count on her, and I express myself to her, and I've always loved her voice. And actually, it was funny because when she had come to New York, she had just come from Nashville. And so I noticed this thing about her songs, like they were all like all of her songs, if you listen to them, like they're all amazing stories. You know, like the words that she uses and how she puts it together. But she's from Texas, but she came up singing in Nashville. And so she learned that whole like storytelling tradition, that exists there through the legacy of like country music and stuff. And I remember like specifically one Christmas, and this is when I knew like we were gonna be best friends forever. But we were living at the Clubhouse, and everybody left. And this is a house with like anywhere from 8 to 15 people living there at a time. And it's not a quiet place. And everybody had left. And me and Denisha were just on some like super hyper focus vibe. Like, right, we got 2 weeks. We don't got no, like, we got a little bit of work. We got to go to she was working in a coffee shop. I was working in a restaurant. We got to do a little bit of work. But like, we would wake up every day at like 8. There was a piano in the living room. Like, I'd be practicing. She would be doing her thing over here. And then we would come together and we would write music. We wrote all these songs. And that was the beginning of Strawberry Jam. Uh, but like, yeah, it was just like, and we still talk about it. It's like, yo, that was such a magical 2 weeks because it was like, yo, there was no interference. It was just like, yo, we just got to just wake up every day and do music. And it was, the vibe was right. And yeah, but yeah, I think Denisha is one of the most talented singers I've ever met, one of the most talented songwriters I've ever met. Her voice is unique, one of a kind. And I love making music with her. It's easy.
Right. The next song is Daddy Warbucks.
Oh, Daddy Warbucks. Scene is the first guy, second guy, third guy I met at the Clubhouse. I don't know. Uh, Amazing lyricist, now turned actor. He's famous. I like on his Instagram, I'm like, yeah, how many million, thousand followers? What? uh, but no, man, it seems like he's another genius like songwriter, like somebody that just does it complete. Like he's one of those people, like if you see him like he would constantly get underestimated by people, like in terms of like working with like other musicians sometimes. But he knows exactly what's going on. Like he's a word like never seen anybody put words together like that. Like to me, and him and Denisha had a band together, which was dope. Denisha and C. But yeah, like I've seen people underestimate him because they think he's just some dumb rapper, like. But like he grew up playing violin. He understands like keys. He produces his own songs. Like, and he's not going to tell you like, yo, that's a C major 7 sharp 5 or whatever. But he's just going to be like, yo, that's not the right chord, or he can hear it. And he's actually been one of my uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Best production teachers, because I would always get so mad. 'Cause I'm like, yo, it's the wrong chord. He's like, so, or or we would argue and get into it over. But man, he's always believed in me and like really supported me and trying to, because he could kind of see it before I did. That like, yo, I think this is a path that maybe you should consider going down, like doing songs. Um, but like, yeah, so he was a rapper, and then I saw him go through the singing phase. While we were at the Clubhouse, we had a band together called Recess. I don't know where that EP is on the internet, but it's somewhere. It's awesome. But yeah, scene, it wouldn't be a record without him. It's like that's one of my best friends. I'm played at his wedding. Know both of his daughters. Like, yeah, like that's my guy.
Nice. The next track is Interlude A.
Interlude A was the this is embarrassing. Let me make sure. I gotta remember. Interlude A was oh. Oh, okay, yeah. Interlude A was the first part of Expatria. It was with all the woodwinds and thingamajiggers. Right? Yes. Okay. Figured it out. But no, it was yeah, I was just like I want to do like a nice little intro to Expatria with that kind of just something to kind of tie in maybe like what people knew, like the more woodwind chamber elements and stuff like that. Yeah.
Word. Okay, yeah, let's go into Expatria.
Expatria was my first time working with a singer other than Denisha or Singh. But it was also a really good friend, Thalma Frites. She's a amazing singer from originally born in Rio de Janeiro. But actually, little known fact, she's like a soap, like television superstar there.
Oh.
She gave all that up to come to the United States and pursue music. And I met her on my first tour with Quantic. She was singing because she had just released his album Magnetica, and she did a couple songs on there. And I met Quantic with B plus, so B plus is the connection. And yeah, I was staying with her and her husband and Gaeli, that beautiful daughter. But and I was staying there, and I had gone out there. I was there for a while. We were gonna work with some songs. So we started this one, and at the time there was like a bunch of crazy stuff on in Brazil. Just kind of like now. I mean, now I guess a bunch of crazy stuff going on in the world, but she was just really upset because she's like, I love my country, and we started talking about the word saudade because we were listening to some different songs. Saudade is kind of like this longing or this feeling of like missing something. It's not really sad. It's not really happy. It's just kind of like sorrow, like it's like sorrow or just like I don't know. But we kind of got deep on the subject, and then she's like, "Yeah, I love my country. Like I miss my country, but man, it's fucked. Like they're killing people in the streets. They're destroying the rainforest. Like there's no like the people who are in charge." And so then this song Expatria came out, and I remember hearing it, and I was like, "Damn, that sounds tight. What do you say?" and she explained it, and I was like, "Whoa, those lyrics are deep and heavy." And I'm not gonna tell you to write some happy shit. So like, that's what it is. Let's go.
Right. The next one is The Night.
Night. That was Melissa. Me and Melissa went to school together, and every single band that I've ever had, she's been lead singer. She is. I've always been a fan of hers, and when we did jazz at school, we had a band called New Vintage. It's like kind of our little interpretation of the RH Factor. But The Night was it's kind of just like about like being uh depressed. Yeah, being depressed. Like we wrote it in the winter. I was like, yo, it's kind of a melancholy song, and just been like, yo, the night doesn't last forever. But like we wrote that one together. That was cool because just to be a part of like a lyric. I don't consider myself like a lyrics person, but you know, to be, you kind of gotta like be aware of it, I guess. And so she allowed me to participate. But yeah, she's incredible. That song, she did a great job.
The next track is the Expatriate interlude.
It's part for the interlude. That was just the interlude, just to kind of tie things together. I was like, man, this is because I think we were listening to it, and there was like a section that I forgot to mute, and it came up like one day. It was just playing, and it came up like while I was doing something else, and I was like, huh? And I was like listening back, and I was like, that's kind of tight. Like, yeah, I like to think of like I don't know, it's like thinking the album is like something kind of like woven together from start to finish as much as possible. Um,
Yeah,
so
kind
that's
of like with with your background, arranging and whatnot. What was sort of like your thought process about the sequencing of this album?
yeah, I just wanted to feel like it kind of like a journey, I guess. Like when you listen to it, like you had like you start, and then hopefully if you can make it all the way through, um, then you feel complete by the end. You know, kind of like but like yeah, especially with that one, it was like you listen to this, it starts slow, and it goes a little boom, 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 then it goes back slow, and then there's just this kind of like chopped beat part, dun, 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 like where I accidentally looped like off of beat, but I was like, well, this is really cool. I like it. Let's just do it like a quick little 30-second thing. But yeah, I think just it just needs to feel like a journey as much as possible. Like,
The next joint is right here, another joint with Denisha.
ooh, yeah, that one was called. It used to be codenamed 1625. It was that's my favorite chord progression. But yeah, that was like I had just gotten Logic. I had just got a computer. I had a gig. I got some money. I finally bought a computer, a good one that I could have like Logic and Pro Tools and stuff. And so uh, I had made this beat, and I was like, yeah, I like this. This is before I had even released this a while ago. But and I sent it to her. She's like, yo, this song, this song, like I gotta write something to this. Um, but yeah, then that one kind of came about. It was like it started with the marimba, the boom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, ba doom, and it used to just be only that. But then yeah, and then it evolved into what it is today, right here.
The next joint is More or Less.
More or less, Marlon Craft, phenom, young phenom, hip hop. Watch out, the kid is awake and has got bars. It's crazy. Like, listen to his music too, man. Like, oof, he's a force. And he's fighting for his respect too. I see him. But yeah, that one I met Marlon randomly through a friend. But actually, I knew his manager Kenny was working with one of my friends at the time, and they were both like 19 when I first met him. I think I was like 20. I'm a little older. I don't know how much older, but they were like super young when I met them. And I met Marlon. He's like, "Yeah, I rap." I was like, "Cool, man. Like, yeah, we should work on some stuff." And this is back when I guess he was just starting out or whatever. Um, we kind of worked on something, and then there's a life happened for a little bit. And we kind of fell out of touch for maybe a year or two. Then like I had this beat, I was like, "Yo, we need like a hard MC that can come in, and it's not gonna just be like, yo, my dick, my gun, my whatever, like, but talk about some shit." And I knew that he would be like perfect for it. And so I sent it to him. I was like, yo, if you're feeling this, maybe try to write something. It's like, and then he sent me back a completed song. And it was like, hey, actually, there's some ideas I have in mind. It's super rough, but like we could definitely flesh them out when we get together. Uh, and he said he's like, it's super rough. And I was like, well, we could just put this out like it is right now. Like, but no, we came back together and got up and did it. And that's when I realized that he knew who Chameleonaire was, which in Texas, I gave him a lot of respect for that because I feel like a lot of rappers ignore the Houston tradition and like all the things that were happening like in the South in the 90s and
Like
2000s.
deep history.
It's
Like,
crazy. My cousins used to make fun of me when I would go to Detroit, actually. They'd be like, yo, you heard this new music called Slow Down? I was like, you mean chopped and screwed music that we've been listening to for the last 10 years? But like,
yeah,
yeah,
they
and it's
got a
funny.
deep history that is just so like it's theirs, man. That it's just so
Dude,
uniquely theirs.
it's crazy because like all modern music sounds like
Exactly. Everybody kind of took like after a while, everybody kind of took it, and after all these years of kind of like ignoring it,
yeah.
like there's like so much of that like Houston, sound is just in modern music now.
It's funny, man, because yeah, like that. Yeah, I crack up laughing. Like at this point, I'm like, man, like, yeah, people like you make trap. I'm like, yeah, but and yeah, sometimes I do, but I'm also just like, but we've been making it for like 30 years. Y'all want to make something new? Like,
Right.
um, no shade, no shade. Music is music, but it's ironic. I'll say that.
Right. Right. When because in regards to working with Marlon, and also taking into account that like you cut your teeth being around this community, the clubhouse, sort of like how important is it to sort of have have that community, but also like also take your opportunities and lend it a little bit to the younger, the guys that are really hungry.
It's the most important. There's nothing more important uh, because, like, I'm going to die one day. I mean, modern science, I don't know, coronavirus might mutate and make me live forever. What the fuck? But now the most important thing is to invest it in the youth. Like, to invest, like, and if you're the way, because I've thought about this like really deeply. Like, I feel like it's impossible to be a real musician and to not be an educator because it's like if you were a real musician, you love the music. If you love the music, you want it to be executed at the highest level possible. You want to make people feel a certain thing. Whatever it is that makes you love it, you want that to happen. And it's like,
And that kind of goes back to to being back in high school and that band teacher who was an asshole.
yeah, because I'm like, dude, if you have to love it and you have to know that like you can't control it, like you can't own it for yourself, like it's not like you're
Yeah,
not
once
gonna
you
like
put it out there, it's like the world has this like control over it. They have like
yeah
a weird like non-ownership of it. There's the world has it.
yeah man, I think that like yeah, like because if I were to just be like, I'm not gonna teach anybody anything I know, then it dies with me, and then that's why would I live that fatalistic kind of life, that's kind of, I don't know, but like yeah, I think it's the most important, man. I think that, like, as much as possible, we have to pour back into our youth, not just in music, but in all things.
Yeah,
I
yeah, because you
think
kind of
that,
mentioned it earlier with Miles Davis and Prince. They always had people younger than them, in their bands and everything. So he was kind of feeding off that energy also. Like they
yeah,
were both because they looked at things a lot differently than your regular person, regular musician, and had these amazing musicians around them. So like they were, they fed off of them, but then put their like insane touch on everything.
yeah. I mean, because the kids are listening to some stuff that like I've never heard of. They're listening to like And so they're gonna constantly educate me because they're like, it's just the same way like when I was like 18 and I'm like, oh, yo, this is Facebook or like this is this new artist or whatever. But like, yeah, like if I'm allowed to just sit in my ways, then I stop growing. So I have to like be constantly surrounded by people. Like I have to give what I have to the young people who might need some of it, and I need them to give me what they got because I don't know nothing about that, you know. Yeah.
Right, right. The next track on the album is Interlude B.
Little B was it. Oh, it was the tail end of right here. It was like yeah, I guess usually I like to like throw a bunch of things and then peel away. And sometimes in the peeling away, there's always like a little end section that ends up getting created somehow. And that was the end of right here. I was like, oh, this is so pleasant. We should just have this for like 30 seconds. just before we slow it right back. Because it's like, more or less. And then, yeah, it's calm and tranquil. And then that leads you to the last song.
Yeah, and the last song on the album is With You, another joint with Denisha.
That was my favorite song on the record. First single, in hindsight, was the best one to do first. I don't really care. But um, I liked it because I was because there's the first version of that song was like this crazy, uh, this I don't know. It had like so much production. There was drums, bass, guitars. There was horns. There was a string section. Like it was just like this. Ah, and then I mean it's cool. When me and Denisha got together, Denisha's like, "Yo, can we mute half this shit?" I was like, "All right." And it was hard for me because I was like, this other part was so cool because this was a lesson that I had to learn of like you can't get married to the part, you have to be married to the song. The idea of making the best song. And so all these little parts that I was so in love with, I was like, but this part is so amazing. You sure you want to get rid of this? And we just ended up muting everything except for her voice, the kick, a snare, and like I think there was like the tiniest snippet of a there was like we sampled one bar of the strings and we put that sample in one place and then the horns came in for like 4 bars at the very end. But like we trimmed away all this stuff and then it's a super simple song. But I just thought it was one of my favorite because it was a lesson just like first of all less is more and to just like when you're creating something try not to be to get caught up in the idea. It's just like let it happen. Because once I was like stop being so attached to everything, then we were able to make that. I think it worked out better than what would have happened otherwise.
Now that the album is done, what do you hope your audiences get out of listening to this album?
Shoot. I hope they feel inspired. I hope they like listen to the songs, listen to the subject matter. I hope they accept. I mean, I hope they like it. I hope they buy it. Yes, but yeah, I guess the thing that I learned most from this was just be myself. I guess, and it is what it is. So I think that theme is really important, especially today. COVID, Black Lives Matter, like accepting ourselves for who we are, accepting others for who they are. But yeah, I hope that it will inspire people to live their truth. This is my truth. This is what it is. It could have been out like actually no, I think it came out right when it needed to, but there was definitely like something inside of me that was afraid to release it for a long time. So yeah, I hope that's what they take from it.
Well, how'd you get past that, sort of fear of putting it out?
Uh, hmm. I don't know. I started put. I got. I don't even really know what was the catalyst. Because I was making I had this other band, IGBO, and we were making a bunch of music. Uh, I don't know really what caused me. I think maybe at a certain point I was just like, I think what it was is I started making better songs. I was like, well, I can't put out the better songs until I finish what I started. Because like my friend told me a while ago, he's like, the name of the game isn't to be the best musician, to make the most songs. The name of the game is just to finish. That's the only thing you need to keep in your mind is to finish. And so like my conscience, I was like, well, I got all these other ideas for records. But like I have these records which I think are okay. I'm kind of nervous to put them out because like I think part of it's like, I think I can do it better now because I've learned more. And some of these were started, at the very beginning of that journey. But I was like, but no, man, I gotta finish. I gotta finish it. Gotta like complete it. And then when I completed it and looked at it, I was like, wow, like, okay, this is different than I thought it was gonna be. Like when you actually put that time into finishing something. So now I'm like, all right, the ones I was excited about, I can't wait to put those out. I mean, I was excited about these as well, but I'm just like, but you know what I mean though? Like I guess, yeah, I had like other songs like, yo, this is so fire. But I'm not about to just like leave all of this that I've invested so much into just sitting here and just never doing anything with it. And
Right.
The production journey has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and if you release that new stuff that you just worked on, and then you're like, oh, I want to release this older stuff, it'll seem kind of weird and like when you look at the body of work,
Yeah, yeah. So I think now I got like a good flow, and I feel good. I feel good about it being out. I'm glad to share it with the world.
Nice.
I'm also excited to. I'm definitely trying to finish. I got one. Yeah, trying to by September 18th. I want to have 2 more records in the can, ready to go.
Yeah, that goes to my next question. Why as we wind down here, what's the future got in hold for you? Anything you can talk about? Just what do you want to do next?
Shoot, for Sly5thAve, well, I got What It Is Part 2, which is probably not gonna be called that. And that one's 50%, nah, 40% done. Still I get some features, but it's coming. I'm excited about it. Living in Mexico City, and my roommate and I just finished the record. It's kind of like we recorded like some live jazz sessions and then came back and edited them after the fact. It's an instrumental record. And I mean, that's it for now. I think I'm still trying to figure out a way to make an orchestra record of original music. Potentially another orchestra tribute coming in the future, but I can't talk about that one. But yeah, it's working as much as possible. Producing, horn arranging, string arranging, whatever people needed me to do, trying to survive in the pandemic.
All right, man. It's been great talking with you, Sly. The new album is phenomenal. Really dig it. Go cop that album, What It Is, via Tru Thoughts Records. Before we get out of here, where can people go online to get more information about you?
Via my website, Sly5thAve.com. Also, Facebook, Instagram, everything, Sly5thAve.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshistheword. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshasthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.